Lord, make us instruments of your peace.
Where there is hatred, let us sow love.
Where there is injury, pardon.
Where there is doubt,
Faith. Where there is despair, hope.
Where there is darkness,
light. And where there is sadness, joy. O Divine Master,
grant that we may not so much seek
to be consoled as to console,
to be understood as to understand,
to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive,
it is in pardoning that we are pardoned,
and it is in dying that we are born to eternal life. Amen.
Here is your WESN News on the Hour. I'm Naomi Magnish. Thanks for joining us. Here are the headlines. Funeral for Kelly Village woman killed by stray bullets set for January 27th. TSTT to submit final cybersecurity report on 2023 data breach. PNM Diego Martin West contest heats up as new candidates emerge. And internationally, court to hear state's challenge on Trump's birthright citizenship order. Now for the details. The funeral of 36-year-old Sharida Ali, killed by a stray bullet during a police and bandit shootout in Beetham Gardens, will take place on January 27th at the St. Joseph RC Church. Ali, a mother of two, was hit in the head while at a friend's home on January 18th. Investigations by the Police Complaints Authority and police continue as they await ballistic reports to determine the source of the fatal bullet. TSTT has announced it will submit its final report on the 2023 cybersecurity breach to Public Utilities Minister Marvin Gonzalez. The October ransomware attack exposed 6 gigabytes of customer data. TSTT says it acted swiftly to contain the threat and has since rebuilt affected systems. The incident led to the departure of the then CEO Lisa Agard. Gonzalez has called for an independent investigation into the breach. The race for the PNM candidacy in Diego Martin West intensifies, with 3 candidates now nominated by party groups. Broadcaster Hans Devines leads with 14 nominations, followed by former Senator Yokima Bethalmi with 5 and Curtis Toussaint with 2. The constituency executive is set to screen candidates before a decision is made. Meanwhile, other constituencies, including La Brea and Laventille East Mover, will also have screenings this week. Internationally, a Seattle court will hear a case on Thursday brought by 4 states seeking to block President Donald Trump's executive order ending birthright citizenship. The order signed earlier this week applies to children of undocumented or temporary migrants born in the U.S. Opponents argue it violates the 14th Amendment. The administration maintains the order is essential to address immigration issues. Legal experts predict the case may ultimately be decided by higher courts. Well, that's your WESN News on the Hour. I'm Naomi Magnish. Thanks for watching.
WESN.
Her voice has mesmerized us for years.
And now, in a rare treat for music fans,
Shakuntala and Friends in concert, featuring Shakuntala Jangbahadur. Singing sensation Deval Chaitlal, brilliant musician Dr. Shivanan Maharaj, master flautist and saxophonist Narendra Maharaj, with music from Shiv Sangeet Orchestra, Shakuntala and Friends in concert.
Shakuntala.
Between the Bank and the Gutter, a novel about street dwellers in Port of Spain. This is a book to make you both laugh and cry. Above all, it takes you to that special space that only street dwellers know. In this moving and riveting human interest story, Harry journeys from insanity to sanity while living on the streets of Port of Spain.
Now available at Metropolitan Books, 12 Ariapita Avenue, Woodbrook. Paper-based bookshop, 14 Alcazar Street, Woodbrook. WESN, 30A Gattaca Street, Woodbrook. And the home store branches located at Barataria, Shogunas, and East Gates Mall. Autographed copies now available on request. Also available from author Louis Lee Singh. I Used to Live in Heaven, Letters to My Granddaughters, Local Government in Trinidad, Conspiracy Against the People, and Closer to the Church.
WESN.
Hello there, and welcome to this edition of AM Prime on WESN Content Capital. I'm Keaton John. Thank you very much for joining me this morning. I'm also pleased to welcome back to the program, returning for the second day this week, which is incredible. Naomi McNish is with us this morning. Good morning, Naomi. It's good to see you. So we can see your lips moving, Naomi, but we can't hear you. You've muted yourself.
My bad. It's early, it's Friday, but I'm very happy to be here again for the second time this week.
Oh, Naomi, you've got to get used to this early morning shift. It takes some time, but you've got to get used to it because there's lots of conversations to be had. In fact, my first guest this morning was calling for a state of emergency way before the government took the decision to do so. He has focused on a number of issues, including addressing the plight of young people across Trinidad and Tobago and trying to get young men out of a life of crime. He has often made rather bold and strong statements, but has never been fearful in making his points. Most recently, he made comments alluding to Trinidad and Tobago being surrounded by a sea of corruption. And that gentleman joins us this morning, a social activist and pastor, Seventh-day Adventist pastor Clive Doughton. Good morning, sir, and welcome to the program.
Good morning. Thank you for having me on this show. My pleasure.
Thank you very much for joining us indeed, sir. Pastor Doughton, I mean, oftentimes you make quite bold and strong statements, but you were very plain in your comments when you spoke about Trinidad and Tobago being surrounded by a sea of corruption. Please tell us a bit more as per exactly where your comments stem from and exactly what is it that you're referring to in particular to the level of corruption in Trinidad and Tobago.
Okay, I want to state, I have a friend who is a senior lawyer. He has been around for decades. And one day we were discussing this topic. His name is Attorney Clive Phelps. And he told me, he said, Pastor, anytime institutions collapse, anarchy takes over. And I'm convinced that anarchy has taken over the country. If you look at the last two killings yesterday, I just turned to Facebook before I tuned into your program. We had a double murder in Enterprise. And you heard the howls and screams of mothers and grandparents. And one of the facts that validate what I am saying and what I have said about Trinidad and Tobago is surrounded by a sea of corruption is the fact that we're in a state of emergency and we have now reached, I believe, 24 murders. It is as if the criminals are not concerned, all right, or worried about the state, using their firepower against them. And let me show you in a mathematical sense what is taking place. If you have 7,000 police officers, let us say the barest minimum, you have 1,500 corrupt officers, some in the first division and others in the second division. And by the way, I've been fighting this problem for about 40 years. So I am no spring chicken to the current crisis scenario. let us say each of those officers, because they may have more than one involved with more than one involved in a particular gang. But let us just, again, the barest minimum, not wanting to be over sensational. Let's say each of them connected with 5 members of a gang. You know what is the scenario there? 7,500. Immediately, they outnumber the police service. Immediately. I mean, I have had young police officers tell me, Pastor, I am not staying here. I've had guys who retired from the service tell me, then I served on the Police Service Commission, 2006 to 2009. I am convinced that our major political leaders in the country do not want meaningful change when it comes to the issue of corruption. And I would strongly state this morning that part of here you have a government who appointed a constitution reform committee. And as soon as the report came out, it is clear to me that the Prime Minister and his team cannot wrap their minds around fixed election dates. Now, if you can't wrap your mind around that, you cannot wrap your mind around the issue of proportional representation or the right to recall of parliamentarians. That is by itself. The final thing I want to say in terms of where you're going, we are faced with a very significant problem. You have had 5 officers, prison officers' homes being firebombed, all right, in the last week. That is very serious. I have intervened, and I'm speaking now, and I think people believe I have a certain measure of credibility. I went to a police station in South to rescue a girl. The girl, of course, made a bad choice. She was with a bandit who was a drug dealer himself, right? And I am telling you, in that police station, I talk about my personal experience. You had the girl who had a child in her hand. She was beaten with a cutlass by the guy, and he had a police and soldier as his bodyguards. Listen to what I'm telling you, a police and a soldier as his bodyguards. I was involved in that rescue of that particular girl. So what I am seeing is, when it comes to the politics, there is a resistance to meaningful campaign finance reform. When I sat in the Senate as an acting independent senator, Stuart Young said, all right, after they had a procurement legislation, which took like 3 years to get going, to clean up, he said the next thing was going to be campaign finance reform. But I haven't heard anybody in the major political parties get up and make an issue, a strong, dynamic response as a call for campaign finance reform. And I will tell you why. The reason is that parties want to get money from legal business people and illegal business people, because after the elections, they hope to benefit from lucrative contracts. That, if that isn't corruption, I don't know what else is corruption. And the rate of crime and violence, home invasions, for example, okay, human trafficking, for example, the rate at which that is going. And I can tell you, I in the field for decades, and I can tell you about the cocaine usage and ganja usage. And of course, the latest craze is the vaping, you know, where our young people in both primary schools and secondary schools vaping. I have had a father come to me from Central Trinidad. He said, Pastor, take over my child. Primary school, standard 4 student, and vaping. He said, I have 2 children in secondary schools, and they are also vaping. So what I am saying is, my involvement on the street, my involvement with families, my involvement with crises over the years, point me in a direction that Trinidad and Tobago is a failed state.
And that in itself is a very, very strong statement. But I want to, you spoke about campaign finance reform, and you've linked that to the conversation in its entirety. Looking further at your comments during the crime talks in Marabella, you said we cannot have parliamentarians fraternizing with gang leaders and crooks and demons. That has to stop. You cannot fight crime and protect assassins. You cannot fight crime and take money at an election time for campaign promotions. just for clarity, you are suggesting that politicians have a relationship, a business-like relationship with gang leaders as it relates to financing?
I am convinced about that. I am convinced about that. And I made a call last year for a particular, this related to a particular opposition person, high-profile person, in terms when you had a situation where there was a violent, she was the victim of violence. And I made a remark and got a lot of blows from it. But it's the truth. It's the downright truth. And in that particular constituency, I believe both parties have people linked, all right, to the issue of gangs. And that is not the only case. And I made it very clear, Marabella, is the issue of both sides. And I made another point in Marabella. I said you cannot buy out the criminal element, because what they do is take the money and instead of settling themselves, and this is not the only country having that problem, you cannot buy out the criminal element. You have to confront them. And that is what I am laying the charge to in terms of where we are. I got a call last night very late from a top attorney in the country. And he was, of course, worried for my safety, etc., etc. But we have to confront this thing. We cannot play games with criminals. We cannot fraternize with criminals. And that is not going to solve the problem. And by the way, you should know that I am peeved. I am angry with what took place with Hector, Randall Hector, outside my church on Stanmore Avenue, holding his son. If me had a gun, he had no way of pulling that gun. He was holding his son, and his wife had a child. They have two children, a 10-year-old and a 9-year-old. And he was holding his son, about to go into the car. This is a special prosecutor who took on the onerous task of prosecuting criminals. And what has happened? He has ended up dead outside the church. The criminals have no respect, absolutely, for the sacred. No respect for ecclesiastical space. And two of them, one in a upscale vehicle, the other in what we call the street car, the B14, B13, whatever you call it there. And the doctors that night took out 16 bullets from him. And by the way, not a government minister came to that funeral, not one. All right? They have made no comments. They have treated that body, that deceased Randall Hector, as a cancer, as a scourge. Not one of them have said one word. And it seems to be a policy, a stated policy or unstated policy, that they wouldn't comment at all on the death of Randall Hector. And by the way, I drop this on you today. Don't forget, he worked for the SSA. All right, that became a very contentious issue with the present Prime Minister. He worked for SSA. And I just throw that in the mix because I am calling for a national inquiry, an inquiry into the death of Randall Hector. We cannot have the criminal elements so bold-facedly and wickedly and brutally destroying our citizens who have taken on a very high-risk assignment. When you're a special prosecutor, you're prosecuting, high-profile gang leaders. Your life is at risk. Your family life is at risk. And if they had gone in the car after the church service, it could have been that all of them would have been wiped out.
Pastor Dawson, that case in particular, as you've mentioned,
yes.
No one showed up to his funeral. Nothing further has been stated. We haven't. This is what, the third week of the state of emergency, the third full week. Well, actually, I think it's going into 1 month, and nothing further has been stated at this time. So
nothing further.
Leaving that on the table and coming back to what you said earlier, in relation to you believe that politicians do not want to address it. Is it that they do not want to address it, or they simply just do not know how to, or do not care to?
By the way, let me just tell you this. You cannot bribe a gang leader. It does not work. All right? And secondly, you can't use a magic wand and wish it away. And let me tell you the next thing. You could kill and you could kill. There are thousands of young people are recruited in gangs right now, some from Form 4 and Form 5. Let me tell you, I am working between 2 secondary schools, and both principals tell me that the gang leaders have recruited 15-year-olds and 16-year-olds from their school to be the deputy gang leader. So what I'm showing you is that the gang leaders are way ahead of the government because they are recruiting individuals. Let me share this with you. I got into a place where I sought to defend a young lady called Aruna Diosaran. She was shot on March 2022. She was left paralyzed. And 4 months after, and by the way, the police blocked me from seeing her. Now, I'm going somewhere with this. The police blocked me at San Fernando General Hospital from seeing her and terrorized the mother for inviting me to go and see her. And the guy who killed her with the AR-15 weapon, all right? He is an example. I'm talking about being a protected assassin. And they had to spend $121,000 to move that young lady, all right, to a private hospital in San Fernando. What is significant is that he came back to the home after he left hospital, not satisfied that he had paralyzed her permanently on her left side, but he shot on the right side. 12 bullets entered her body in different parts, neck, face, all kind of thing. But what I'm saying is that he came back in broad daylight at 4:40 an evening on June 2022 and eliminated her and her husband. And if the 7-year-old child was there, all right, we have since removed him from Trinidad. Imagine that. The poor child has to be removed from Trinidad and placed in a foreign country. Thank God he had relatives in that. He has relatives in that country. Now, you tell me, we cannot be at ease. And I am telling the population in Trinidad and Tobago, you have given me the opportunity, that we cannot be at ease with the present crime situation and think if we treat criminals okay, all right, and we feed money and resources into them, that they will stop killing. It is not working. It has not worked anywhere whatsoever. I just came from Africa, all right, Kenya. I arrived in the country Tuesday night. Kenya has 56 million people with a murder rate of under 400. And I want to tell you, that is why I am a believer in proportional representation, because Kenya has what you call tribes, all right? They have different races. All right, India, for example, a lot of Indians there, and they are comfortable. If you please, they have political stability. There's a bit of hostility around election time. They do have a female abuse and murder problem, okay? They do have that, but I'm saying the murder rate registered just under 400 in 2024, 56 million people. And London has slightly more than we had in terms of murders. All right, with a population that is several times our population. So that therefore, we have to get serious and call a spade and deal with the issues. And what hurts me about our present crop of politicians, they don't seem to be able to grasp concepts that will lead us to have a better society. The right to recall of parliamentarians, I repeat that, meaningful campaign finance reform. And it appears to me, I was at Louis Lee Singh's book launching. I came in from Kenya and I went straight there to the Little Carib Theater. You know, that guy told me, who has been a significant player in one of the major political parties. He says right now, the leader is destroying talent. All right? A kind of overarching, let me use this language, nepotism, overarching. He says, talent, once you oppose the leader, and I have seen it not just in one party, but in two major parties, PNM and UNC. Once you deal with issues in a straightforward way with the leader, you are in trouble. You might be kicked off the list of candidates now in a country of 1.4 million. I remember I was shocked. I went to Nevis and St. Kitts, and I was shocked when a lady with a master's in counseling told me, in small Nevis, she wasn't well connected. That's why she didn't get a particular post. I say, in a country as small as Nevis, Lord have mercy. So it's a Caribbean disease, and it has to be approached. And I condemn CARICOM as being slow to react to the burgeoning crime crisis in the Caribbean. I condemn CARICOM. They should have been the ones to have a powerful, proactive, innovative youth recruitment strategy, and they have launched the gang leaders to
Well,
replace them, displace them.
Pastor Dotson,
Yeah.
it seems as though, because I mean, even Barbados right now it seems to be under siege by criminals. St. Lucia, over
Yes,
the last few years,
yes.
their crime rate has skyrocketed. And of course, even with Jamaica, I mean, they were recently speaking about a reduction in the number of murders for this
Well,
month thus far. But before we get into that, the whole thing is, these leaders do not seem to be able to even deal with their own internal affairs, their own domestic affairs, when it
yes.
comes to crime and criminal activity. Therefore, what renders them capable of being able to do it for entire a body that is CARICOM? Surely that we've had collaboration, and they always seem to be an issue with CARICOM where there isn't full agreement. So it comes back to people dealing with their issues domestically. They don't seem to be able to.
Well, let me just tell you why. One reason. If you look at managerial consultants and the books they have written, I have just bought a book that was published last year, Pivot or Die. And I look at all organizations that have done very well through innovative strategies, including Best Buy and other groups. What you see is a reluctance to be creative and a reluctance to be courageous. Because I was in Barbados in 2001. I spent 5 weeks there. I went to 14 secondary schools. Only one school gave significant trouble. But I went and was well received by the young people. Now watch this. Watch this. I went to a primary school, 2001 in Barbados, where the Form 4 and Form 5 guys in that secondary school were splurging US dollars. And they were the ones with the cocaine in the school. I'm talking about 24 years ago. So therefore, we never nipped the thing in the bud. You know, Barbados could have had 8 murders in one shooting last year. They had 3 murders and 5 others were wounded. But could you imagine that? I don't know how Mia Motley is addressing that, but that is, and we have to go to the root. We have to go to the family. We have to go to fathers who are abusive and have abandoned their families. We have to deal with the issue of discipline in our secondary schools. The church has a role to play. The government has a role to play. Business has a role to play. And I target businessmen, all right, when I'm speaking, because the cocaine and the guns are not coming from boys behind the bridge. Now, I will tell you something. There is a very significant move with the gangs in Trinidad. You know this, and extending it to Tobago. You know this significant move? There's a gang leader who's trying to unite all gangs under his umbrella. And I'm saying this for the SSA, and I'm saying this for the special branch to listen. If that guy gets control over the gangs, or the majority of the gangs, he will have a lot more power than Abu Bakr ever had in 1990. So I have done my homework. I am part of a team. I have a group called Courage Unlimited, please. And half of us are a bunch of researchers when it comes into criminology. And I warned the country, and I warned the government, and I warned the opposition. Having an election campaign in 2025 and general election 2025 wouldn't automatically do anything for the society. And based on some of the candidates I see there, it might be worse. So I am saying, let us get real, all right? Let us stop this nepotistic thing that chronistic thing we practice in the society and get on with the business of governing. And it strikes me that we more have bullies for leaders than we have servant leaders. All the literature in terms of management is talking, whether it's Drucker, whether it's Gates, whoever it is, everybody is talking. Shapiro is another phenomenal writer, and he's burst upon the scene like a meteoric shower. They're all talking about servant leadership, and I see the opposite of that in the region.
You know, in your experience from your research and from even the experiences you spoke about when you went to San Fernando to rescue this girl, when you went to the San Fernando General Hospital following that case with Aruna Diosran, do you think the criminal elements, or the alleged criminal elements at least, have more protection than civil society, than everyone
Yes,
else
of
that
course.
makes up society?
I'm convinced of, I am convinced about that. In fact, I think there are honest police officers who are at risk from rogue elements in the police service. I had a Seventh-day Adventist young man. He said, Pastor, I'm not staying in that at all. I am not staying. I have joined. I see what is happening. And this started when I was in the Police Service Commission 2006 to 2009. And the complaints continue about junior officers now to get promoted. They identify with certain First Division officers who are also, some of them, who are very, very, crooked, and they see that way as their pathway to glory. Now, I am talking about leadership appointments, sir. I'm talking about that. When we were on the Police Service Commission 2006 to 2009, you know what we said? The top leadership, we will send them out, give them their leave, early pre-retirement, and we'll bring in new people, and we'll take them some time, all right, to go on the crooked pathway. That is what we said. I was on the Police Service Commission under now deceased Ambassador Christopher Thomas. So we have a lot of work to do, and we have to be genuine about the work we have to do. And having a general election in a year doesn't mean that we'll automatically solve crime.
In that regard as well, you called for a state of emergency long before it was actually enacted. You were calling for a state of emergency to address the situation. Are you satisfied and pleased that it finally has happened? Are you also pleased with the police operations and the reporting, at least, on police operations during this particular period?
One of the problems with joint army and police patrols I have found in this society is that they're not consistent enough. Hello, this program didn't start last night. It didn't start in the last 5 years. It will take us concerted, consistent, committed effort to really deal with this problem that we have here. It's not going to just go away, and when you lack consistency, you're in trouble. All right. The criminal element are no longer afraid of the police. They believe they are winning the battle. All right. They continue to have double murders and a state of emergency. And I would say, although you have had a reduction in murder rate, but it is galloping now. What I am saying is, we have to suffer inconvenience as a society if we have to win the battle against crime. And I think it was, honestly, you saw what happened in Jamaica. Jamaica has now placed 4. They have a law the way they can have limited state of emergencies in different areas like St. James and St. Mary's and what have you. Now, there are 4, all right, parishes under lockdown now. State of emergency declared. So we have got to look at our laws in terms of how we deal with certain areas. Leela Ramdeen from the Catholic Social Justice Commission has said that one of the things plaguing our crime rate happens to be the migratory criminal. And I have found that, all right? I have discovered that I validate what she has said from the Catholic Social and Justice Commission. She's now in a group with me called CTA, led by a Muslim female, an iconic Muslim female. So we have got to pull together. We have got to come together. We have to be more inclusive in our operations. We have to ask political leaders to have servant-style leadership, to know how to cope with criticism. We have got to tell them all of that. And we cannot continue on the path where we are going. All right, you don't want to have a situation where this country will soon you have a murder rate of 1,000. All right, then it means we are approaching Haiti. And forget me, but the experts, including one from UAE, who has said we are on our pathway to Haiti. Now, do we want that for our country? Habakkuk 2 says the vision is for an appointed time. And we have to have a vision. I am part of a massive, mega adoption program of young people who want to come out of gangs. I've just adopted a baby, all right? Just not yet 1 year old, to give her a fighting chance to survive and operate and grow in a new environment. I've just got an appeal from a mother to get people to take over her baby who was just born. All right, and she has had a relationship with a known criminal. If I know he's a known criminal, the police should know he's a known criminal too, in the East-West corridor. So all of this, and I have to appeal to our role models. Now it's not the time to be drinking and smoking. Now it's not the time to be fraternizing with gang elements. Now it's the time to be role models. I call upon our leaders, church, business, politics, parliamentarians, to be role models and to be dynamic role models and to be fearless and be willing to lay down our lives for the country.
Do you think that to a certain degree, I mean, you just said that this young lady had a relationship with a known criminal. But why is that the case? I mean, I'm even reading this morning of those 3 suspected thieves that robbed that grocery in Chaguanas that was shot and killed by police. I'm reading that the father and we don't know if that's the aunt or the uncle, but they're indicating that he may have just been the driver. Police shot and killed him for nothing. He has bruises over his body, which seem to be very mysterious, and they want an investigation. And furthermore, we have to be careful of who taking jobs from. Right?
What he was
just
doing
the
driving
driver.
a car. What he was doing driving a car with
And that is what they saying. They're saying
Come
that he
on.
used to do odd
Come
jobs.
on.
But so do you think that in TNT, as much as we've spoken about politicians and we've spoken about the police and the army, etc., do you think that there are parts of society that are completely delusional to this?
Well, the Calypsonian ranking has a song that I heard in Marabella. All right? The good boy get gunned down. And it was a sarcastic, description of the good boy. I mean, parents talk about the boy was a good boy terrorizing people in the community, staging home invasions, all right? Shooting at people, raping our women. And we're talking about he was a good boy. And some parents are to blame for part of this crisis we have in the society. And I mean, I want to emphasize that. There are some families, I kid you not. I know one area in the East-West Corridor where entire police station was completely compromised by the drug leadership in that area. Entire police station. And you had in that family, who are still suffering now, although the queen has been shot and killed over 5 years now. You have people being shot and killed 10 years after, because they had mentored or mismentored. Even a 10-year-old was a grandchild, got caught coking like a 30-year-old. I know that as a fact. And when that lady was killed, the cocaine queen, all right, in Arima, remember, soon after that, 4 people were killed. That was a reprisal killing. And we still hear about reprisal killing when he had 5 in Laventille, all right, being shot and killed. And I could tell you, I just went out to St. Kitts last year, a few months ago, to launch an anti-gang program, all right, with the schools and with the communities. And 6th and 7th featuring prominently. You saw pictures in the newspapers a few weeks ago of 6th and 7th in Europe, in England. Those fellas have a strategy. And I fear that our strategy is not powerful enough to neutralize their strategies.
Final question, Pastor Dawson.
Yes.
Where do we turn to? How do we change this? Because you spoke about police officers, possibly the good apples, as I say, being suppressed by the bad apples. Politicians
yes,
don't want to address it. So you said just a couple months ago that Trinidad is faced by what you described as a courage bankruptcy to deal with these situations. And given what you presented this morning, where do you turn to? How do you even start to resolve a situation like this?
Well, I believe we in the church, we have a major responsibility in terms of having effective mentorship programs. That's number one. Number two, we must convert our community centers into counseling units. That's number two. Number three, the political directorate must have the courage to discipline their own members who are part of the problem and not part of the solution. Number four, we've got to rid, this is medium-term and long-term, our protective services of the corrupt elements. There are places we can start. We could start with the low-hanging fruit, the young people in the secondary schools. I have called for a school invasion. You have home invasion. I'm calling for a positive school invasion. If we have 50 people who are role models in our society, I go to the secondary schools. I am 75 years, all right? And I go to secondary schools still. And I have a tremendous influence over those young people. And if we get 50 to target our secondary schools, before we close off, let me just tell you what happened in California, in San Luis Obispo County. My research brought me to the point where you had a pastor, all right, that got retired teachers and administrators to occupy schools at lunchtime. You had 6 schools with significant levels of violence. And in 6 months' time, he reduced that by half. A visionary, and we need more visionaries in the country to move our country forward.
Pastor Dawson, let's hope such visionaries actually come out and play an active role, because they themselves are fearful of
Yes, yeah, I hear you.
results or the repercussions associated with that. Pastor Dotson, thank you very much for your time
God
this
bless
morning.
you, Naomi. Hello, and bye-bye.
Thanks for joining us. Naomi has remained quiet, but that's okay. Thank you, Pastor Dotson.
Okay, God bless you. God bless.
Take care. Bye-bye. Ladies and gentlemen, let's take a break here on the program this morning. We've got a very interesting conversation coming up in a bit, but we've got more information to share with you in relation to the new Trinidad and Tobago Marathon, and you'll see that in a bit, so stay with us.
Transform your home with PCU Plus. From stylish furniture to the latest appliances, we have everything you need to create your perfect space. At PCU Plus, we offer fair prices and affordable financing options that are cheaper than hire purchase agreements. With convenient locations in San Fernando, Tobago, Arima, and our lifestyle showroom in Barataria, you're never far from the best deals. Visit PCU Plus today and discover why we're the top choice for quality furniture and appliances. PCU Plus, quality you trust, prices you'll love. Visit one of our locations or find us online to start transforming your home today.
Do you need treatment for obesity or any related abdominal procedures? The community hospital now offers minimally invasive laparoscopic surgery done by an American-trained, board-certified surgeon with over 20 years' experience. Give us a call at 235-5479 for more information.
The Community Hospital of Seventh-day Adventist,
where good private health care is affordable.
Simon's Musical Supplies Limited. We are the specialist in new and used musical instruments, carrying top brands like Yamaha, Pearl River pianos, vinyl and Sabian cymbals, Remo and Evans drumheads and Fender guitars, just to name a few. Also a wide assortment of music books, pan and accessories. At Simon's, we service what we sell. Trust the leader. Call us now at 625-6412 or visit us at 20 Board Street, Port of Spain.
The best birthday gifts are at dbesttoys.com. Shop for the best brands you love at the best prices, like VTech, Leapfrog, Fisher-Price, Play-Doh, Hot Wheels, Barbie, Cocomelon, LOL, Baby Alive, Crayola. Visit us in-store at Forces Flagship MacBean. Shop online now at dbesttoys.com. Order via call or WhatsApp at 32DBEST to order. And remember, we have the best toys at the best prices.
SM Group International Limited, your solutions partner for the latest innovations, brands and competent staff to meet your needs. We provide products and services in the following divisions: executive services, event rental and services, power and heavy equipment, construction and property management, food and beverage, aggregate and sales and distribution. Check out more on our products and services at www.smgrouptt.com. Contact us at 221-7445 or email at info@smgrouptt.com. We are SM Group International, your solutions partner.
Welcome back to the program, ladies and gentlemen. So we were due to have a conversation on our oil and gas sector with Mr. Kevin Rivera. We have postponed that conversation to tomorrow morning, so you can look forward to that, because we've had other conversations to have this morning, and in fact, it's a very positive conversation. I'm very pleased about this, knowing that we actually highlighted what was taking place with the Trans-Tobago Marathon in the last quarter of 2024, when there was a possibility that it may not have been held. And then Bathurst Sports became the savior of the day, and there is a 2025 edition which actually starts quite soon on March 10th, actually, the 10K on March 10th. This year it's a bit different though. It's a midnight marathon and breakfast party. Everybody likes a party. So this is just one aspect of it. Trans-Tobago Marathon, we must bring a party to it. Excellent marketing on the part of Bathurst Sports, and joined this morning by marketing and a public relations officer at Bathurst Sports, Mr. Vern Exterball. Good morning, sir. Welcome to the program.
Good morning, good morning. Thank you so much for having me, Mr. Shah. How are you?
I am doing well. How are you doing?
Excellent, thank you. Very happy to know that we have been able to make progress and keep the marathon alive after 42 years and keep it going for 43rd. So very, very happy to be here this morning. Thank you.
Quite happy on my part as well. Congratulations. I think this is excellent. But I also am quite excited as per how Bathurst Sports has redeveloped the marathon and for how they're proposing this takes place. First of all, why has Bathurst Sports invested in this marathon, knowing the issues that have been associated with it that almost led to its demise? Why has Bathurst Sports now invested in the TNT Marathon?
Well, Bathurst Sports investment is more about Trinidad and Tobago than just the marathon. I think our main interest has come from what our name stands for, which is by athletes for athletes. It's a group that has been started with a primary focus on fitness and health education. And as a running club in its foundation, and with running base as part of our, really and truly our mojo in the machinery, having a marathon is what we have kind of put some very key interest on, because it is a part of life. It's very key to note for Trinidad and Tobago that the WHO has noted that our lack of movement, particularly after COVID-19, has been leading us down a road of a lot of NCDs and non-communicable diseases, as it were. And movement is one of the key ways to get around, get away from, and to cure that. And as a running club and as a running unit, we've seen the value of that. So for a major running event like the Trinidad Marathon not to happen would be definitely heartbreaking for us. So we've taken the bull by the horns, taken the sacrifice to get involved, and basically put ourselves out there for national service to make sure that we do have a marathon.
So, let me just bring in another aspect of this conversation, a vision on the part of Bathurst Sports, which, if I'm not mistaken, is 1 million miles for charity, a run for 1 million miles for charity. Surely there is some part of this that is incorporated into the marathon, but exactly how does this 1 million miles for charity work?
Right, that is our million mile challenge, which is our flagship for the last year or three. And that is us encouraging people to run 1 million miles so that we could raise $1 million for charity. So far, that particular goal is nearing 1/3 of its goal. We've already achieved about 300,000 miles so far. If you go to the BathurstSports.com page, you will be able to see the million mile tracker that gives a good idea of where we are at. That million mile proposal is exactly where we stand in terms of our commitment to health of the country, to charity organizations that need support. So by our collective running through all the community members who can run, all the runners in the country who joined this million mile challenge and continue to add their miles. Once we hit that million mile mark, we will donate $1 million to charity. That is one of our flagship contributions to the community, and I'm glad you mentioned it. So the Trinidad and Tobago Midnight Marathon now will also help us to keep contributing to that. We will take some of those miles from in there and add it to the million mile tracker so that we could achieve that million mile. It helps us as well as a people to show how serious we are about health, fitness, and movement.
Not moving away too much from the marathon, but I am actually on Bathurst Sports website right now. It's the first thing that pops up, actually, in respect to the million mile challenge. how does this work? Because I'm seeing a lot of races here, a lot of 5Ks and 10Ks, and I'm seeing numbers next to them. Exactly how does this work? How is this formula working?
Right. So what happens is that you register as a Million Mile participant, and on your own time you run, and our software and the app monitors what you achieve on a, whether it's weekly, daily, monthly, however you could put in your miles. But once you register and sign up for the Million Mile race, you could add your goals in increments. So you could add a couple miles every month, and every sign up you get I think about 280. Don't quote me on the 280 miles, but when you do your sign up, it'll tell you exactly how much. The good thing about that is it works with you, what you can achieve, what is your ability. And it's not just about running as well. You could walk and clock and register your miles. And remember that registering these miles and inputting it and sending it into the machinery means that you are contributing to us making it to that million and giving $1 million to charity. So it's all about you. On your time, virtually, you achieve your miles as you can based on your ability. And we're looking for 1 million miles, hopefully soon, because we're already at just over 300,000.
Well, if I was looking for a good excuse to get up and start walking or running other than for the sake of my health and well-being, I just found one, so congratulations to BAFA Sports on that. Coming back to the TNT Marathon, it's a whole new marathon. I mean, the theme is quite different this year. It's a midnight marathon and breakfast party. Now, the official launch takes place this Saturday. It focuses on children this Saturday in particular, if I'm not mistaken. But tell me more about this theme, about this midnight marathon. What's the thinking behind this?
Well, funny enough, a midnight marathon actually makes sense, because if you're a runner, running in the sun is treacherous, and we've seen where we are based on how our sunshine is now, and we are into a dry season. I don't know if you all have noticed, even though there's rain, the heat that we do experience when the sun is out, it is, it's pretty hot. So having a marathon at midnight means cooler running conditions, better performance from your marathoners, less traffic on the roadways, less of an interruption of your day-to-day operations when you try to put the marathon during business hours. So it does work out for everyone involved, especially the runners, and it also works out for culture. Culturally, we are, like you said, you notice the breakfast party part of it, and a lot of people latch on to that. That is a great component for a celebration at the end of a midnight marathon in the capital of Carnival, in the home of Steel Pan. I think culturally it makes sense for us to do a marathon that's run at midnight, celebrated with a little breakfast party, cultural activities beforehand. It also helps us with a lot of the things that you will see pop up and we will reveal as we go along in terms of the features of this marathon that you can experience. So this midnight marathon is not a strange concept. There's a midnight marathon in New York and many other territories around the world, but it is unique to Trinidad and Tobago and the Caribbean, and it is now going to be what we hope, a very strong pillar for the running and athletic community in the Caribbean.
Actually, when COVID restrictions were slowly being lifted, I do recall there being a virtual aspect to the marathon where people had to walk and clock in their miles as well. Is that what is taking place with this midnight marathon, or is there an actual starting point and end point? Is there a designated trail for this particular marathon?
Yes, the marathon is in person in this particular instance, while BAFA Sports might have been one of the pioneers in terms of virtual races in the country, and we have a good apparatus for that, and we encourage virtual races a lot. This particular marathon is in person, and again, it's a good return to in-person running. So we do anticipate that it will, require people to take a little time to get prepared, hence the reason we're putting out a good bit of marketing now, so you could start your campaigns. One of our key partners has said, in order to get ready for a marathon, you should practice for just about 16 to 18 weeks and get in a good training regime. So those training regimes will start, because this is in person, and some of that virtual component could contribute via your training. So you can keep your virtual races, keep contributing to your million mile through your training, and then head into the marathon. But we also want to make sure that people engage in the marathon based on your ability.
What happens if you've been stagnant and still for 16 to 18 years. Is 16 to 18 weeks enough time?
16 to 18 weeks may not be enough time, depending on, that would, depend on the nutrition that you might have been involved in, depending on other activities that you might have had. But I would suggest, take it in stride for everyone. We would not want to have injuries or people, being overly exhausted and really and truly dropping down on the race route. So there is also a 10K component in there and a half marathon. So people could also build up. Start making your way to work towards, if you've done no exercise, work up to the 5K. And just for clarity, this weekend's 5K starts in the afternoon at about 3 p.m. And that is a good workup for you to come and start to see where your running threshold is. Get into that 5K. The 1K is mainly for the children, the 5K is for the older persons, and that will give you a good gauge of where you're at. And you could aspire now to train towards a 10K. And then probably next year, aspire towards training for the half marathon. And then the following year, on to the full marathon. And as you continue to develop and grow, because what we want to do is encourage a habit of movement. We want to really and truly make progress through that movement. So build up and continue to work towards a goal. You climb that peak. The running peak is that 26.2 mile marathon in our running community. You could work towards getting there over a period of time.
You've sort of explained it in relation to how the different aspects of or the different parts of this particular series, because it is a series of races, can be beneficial. But why even the concept of a series of races? You've got this 1K and 5K taking place this Saturday, but you've got that 10K on March 10th and the half marathon on April 13th, and then, which by the way, it's amazing how the dates align, at 10K on the 10th, half marathon on the 13th, and then you've got the full-fledged marathon on May 18th, the 26.2 mile. Why this series?
Well, a series also allows for us to really and truly get that preparation in there. Develop and get to the 10, develop and get to the half marathon, which is 13.1, and then go to your 26.2 full marathon. And most marathons across the world run a series because we want to engage as many runners as possible. People who are at different levels can come and contribute, race, and earn medals. And talking about the medals, BAFA Sports is known for these wonderful medals, and we've gotten a great medal that does have a secret component in it as well, which we will really reveal during the week. But what it is, it gives you 3 medals for your race contribution. So when you run your 10K, your half marathon, and the full marathon, you get 3 medals that combine and click into one major medal. So as you see on the screen here, these are the 3 medals individually. So one for the 10K, one for the 13.1 mile, which is your half marathon, and then one for 26.2 miles of running, which is a full marathon. Each one of these, culturally specific, has some component of Trinidad and Tobago and our carnival and our culture in there. But they actually join together to click to make one major medal to really seal the deal on a keepsake for your accomplishment of running this mountain of a marathon.
I will tell you, those medals are beautiful. They're amazing. I mean, the mere fact that you can put it together to make one big medal that is representative of Trinidad is quite astounding. BAFA Sports really came out banging this year when it comes to this marathon. They thought about everything.
I appreciate that. I really appreciate that, and we look forward to continue to working on it. I think we have thought of as much as we can, and we also do keep it very, very open to get contributions from the running community. Our Facebook page is always very active. Our running community is always very engaged, and we're happy to take comments, and a lot of this has been built on feedback from actual runners. Whether you're a hobbyist, whether you are really into it and you're into Thanos mode trying to get into that running community, it is really and truly their feedback, their race. This is by athletes for athletes, but it's also open, and we've seen a lot of the public who've been interested in recovering from health issues, people who've been interested in just improving health, coming out and joining us. And I think that is one of the joys. We've been able to create a race that is very, very inclusive, and we want to continue to do that with the Trinidad and Tobago Midnight Marathon from 2025 go on.
Mr. Dexter, the thing is, using myself as a personal example, I mean, I'm very much into running. I love it. Think it's an excellent form of exercise and something that you can enjoy, especially in the beautiful environments that exist across Trinidad and Tobago. But I might not be able to run that 26.2-mile marathon. Yet those medals are something that is very much motivational. I want to get my hands on that medal. Is there a possibility of me probably bringing a team that we could probably do relay aspects of this? You know, parts of us complete it and the other team then goes on, or the other individuals, you know, try and make this a team event as well.
Yes, that is actually very, very possible. There is a relay component to the 26.2-mile marathon, and we look forward to teams coming out and running in portions. As it is right now, I think we've set it up that you could come with just about 10 runners, and everybody runs just about a 2-mile run, which is just under 5K of their own strength, and the running group will get some recognition and medals as well for running as a team. So yes, there is a relay component. So details on that, of course, we also want to flesh out specifically, and the buffersports.com website will give some more details as we progress into the weeks going forward, because everything will roll out in tranches. But yes, there is going to be a relay component.
Oh, well, I feel a lot better now. But what's the designated route? Has that been already established?
We are working on a route, but I don't want to tell tales out of school because there are various approvals that have to be had, which are going in the right direction so far. But ideally, I just want to say that we are moving from Port of Spain up the bus route.
That's fair, because I know that there's still some time to put everything into place. But coming back to the aspect of a midnight marathon, it's an excellent concept. I think it's something different, something new that people could look forward to, and it's quite exciting. But of course, I must also bring in safety concerns. I mean, there are a lot of safety concerns, particularly now in Trinidad and Tobago. Things aren't easy, things aren't that great. What is Baffa Sports doing to reassure participants that their safety is priority and that we're going to do everything in our power to ensure that you'll look after during this marathon?
Well, one of the things that Baffa Sport has always been proud of is that safety has been a very critical part of all of our races. Our race marshals and our race assistants are trained for this, trained in assistance for health and emergency response, as well as safety in general. One of the pluses that we have in our pocket is a good relationship with the Defense Force and the national security bodies that work closely with us. And we must say, a very special thank you to the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, who've worked with us on all of our races, ideally, throughout our 6-7 years of putting on races. So that has also meant that our relationship is symbiotic. The police understands what we need, what our runners need, and how they need to function, and we understand how to work with the authorities in order that they get the respect, placement, and notifications on time. That conversation with the officers is currently ongoing, and I can say, though, that we also are going to include some people from the Defense Force as part of our assistance in getting this race off, because a lot of the Defense Force men and women are runners. A lot of them are included, so they are part of our network and our DNA, so that as we progress, safety and security being paramount is part of what we do as Baffa Sports.
Incredible. Now, let's get to something that's even more fun, the breakfast party aspect of this. What's going on there?
Right, well, that is still under development, and we want to try to keep that close to the chest a little bit, but that breakfast party component is definitely part. It is one of those parts that helps to give our fans who come to look at the race, those people who are looking forward to see how the race is run and look at people coming in and give a good feedback to the viewing community, that they could celebrate alongside. They could have something to do on the side while we wait on the runners to come in. And when they do come in, create a nice celebration. So it is also going to be very, very cultural. We expect to have a lot of steel pan, a lot of our cultural characters going to be in there. a lot of our cultural stars as well. We hope to be on stage as well, and that particular component will have its own platform for its development as well too. So you could come and just party if you want as well a little bit. But I think for the most part, by the time we finish build the momentum for the race of itself, you'll understand that the breakfast party is actually a good celebration for a marathon that says, we are Trinidad and Tobago. This is a midnight marathon. This is how we put it on as Baffa Sports.
Who doesn't like a Trinbago breakfast? And who doesn't like a party? I think that's a very exciting aspect.
And a good healthy breakfast at that too. Yeah, a good healthy breakfast as that it will be provided.
Well, when you say healthy breakfast, some people have different definitions of healthier. But I know with Baffa Sports, we can expect really something great, something good for everyone. But, Mr. Exeter, this Saturday is the launch. Where is this taking place? I think you said 3 p.m., but what can we expect from this Saturday's launch?
3 p.m. at the Queen's Park Savannah. This one in particular is, it's a new concept as well on a race launch for the marathon. It is at the Queen's Park Savannah, so you could join us at our regular runoff area there, the TGI, and from 3 p.m. we will have the 1K and then the 5K. So the 1K will be for the children to run, and then the 5K will run off for the more seasoned runners, the older runners. And these particular races are really good, fun activities. You could come run and walk. It is not super competitive. Once you finish the race, you could get one of these beautiful carnival medals. And these carnival medals we are also very proud of. That says a lot about Trinidad and Tobago. I think this is excellent. I would like to say, though, unfortunately, the races are currently sold out. Yeah, and I mean, it is one of the things that we tend to see happen with our races, and we very
all the races. Are you talking about just this Saturday?
1K and 5K so far. What is good though, WSN is actually getting an exclusive here today because registration for the 10K half marathon and marathon are now live as we speak. It was being completed just before we finished this interview, and we thought it was very nice to have it, and you would get that exclusive content that. Race registration is now at 0 for the 10K, the half marathon, and the full marathon. But it is now live as of right this minute. As of 7 a.m. this morning, right now, you could go on and register for the 10K, half marathon, and full marathons. The 1K and 5K for this weekend are sold out, but you do have a chance to get on board as one of the first registrants simply because you are here with us this morning. So you could go on registration for the 10K, Sha.
I'm on it. but before I go, and before you go, where can people register? How do they register?
You simply go to the www.baffasports.com. Everything is on our platform. Once you get in there, yeah, you will see the registration. So you should see the links up now. www.baffasports.com, BAFASPORTS.com. Get in, register. You could register for Million Mile. There are also a series of other races that we are going to be doing. We have the Energy Chamber race coming up soon, and Perenco, and a lot of other races that you could also keep registering, because these races will also help with your fitness as you go towards the marathon. You could use them as part of your training schedule. Get on board and run a Baffa race and keep moving, because you know that a healthy lifestyle depends on that movement. We need to keep moving.
Oh, this is excellent. I'm actually on the website right now, and I'm seeing the registration links. So that is pretty awesome. In my haste, in my excitement, I accidentally misspelled, I misspelled sports. Thankfully,
That's all right.
Mr. Exeter was kind enough to spell it out as I was typing first. Well, this is incredible. And again, before we go, where can people get more information? I think we actually have the flyers that we can put up on screen as well. But, is there a page to follow? Is there a number
Facebook
to call?
pages? Yes, our Facebook page, Instagram page, and our TikTok is going to get a lot more vibrant with this marathon. So you can look out for those. Everything is Baffa Sports, baffasports.com. Just look for @Baffa Sports. We've been privileged to get a pretty unique name. So it is pretty easy to find. Once you Google Baffa Sports, you should find a lot of the links there, but mainly our Facebook page is one of the most active places. You can get information, see the flyers, see races, and the key resource is on our website at www.baffasports.com.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, just to remind you once more, these are the medals. You can put that back up on the screen because on March 16th, we've got the Midnight 10K. On April 13th, the Midnight Half Marathon. And of course, on May 18th, the Midnight Marathon at Breakfast Party. They're keeping the Breakfast Party a secret for now. That's okay. That's something that we could look forward to. But these medals are quite beautiful. Mr. Exeter, thank you very much for joining us this morning. In fact, to you, to the entire team, I mean, apart from Bafa Sports taking over the marathon, investing in this, how you have developed it and the themes that you all have put forward for this year is very exciting and absolutely incredible. So congratulations to you and to the rest of the team. And on behalf of Transvago, thank you. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you for having me, and I really appreciate your genuine interest, and we look forward to more people getting genuinely interested in movement. And of course, like I said, it does help with your NCDs, avoiding them, and recovery. So keep moving, Trinidad and Tobago, and I look forward to seeing you all at the race.
Indeed, the links are now live at www.bafasports.com. Ladies and gentlemen, let's take a break here on AM Prime. We've got some more conversations to get into, but this indeed is very exciting. And of course, again, once more, congratulations to the entire team, and thank you very much for what you're doing. We'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen. Stay with us.
My name is Dr. Stephen Carroll, the CEO at Community Hospital of Seventh-day Adventist, and we are committed to making good private health care affordable.
For all your medical needs, including dental, radiology, laparoscopy, behavioral and mental health, along with many other services, contact us for more information at 235-5479.
Community Hospital of Seventh-day Adventist,
where good private health care is affordable.
Transform your home with PCU Plus. From stylish furniture to the latest appliances, we have everything you need to create your perfect space. At PCU Plus, we offer fair prices and affordable financing options that are cheaper than hire purchase agreements. With convenient locations in San Fernando, Tobago, Arima, and our lifestyle showroom in Barataria, you're never far from the best deals. Visit PCU Plus today and discover why we're the top choice for quality furniture and appliances. PCU Plus. Quality you trust, prices you'll love. Visit one of our locations or find us online to start transforming your home today.
Welcome back to the program. For those of you who are just joining us, we've had an insightful morning so far with Pastor Clive Doughton, first, who gave us an extremely eye-opening conversation on Trinidad and Tobago State with regard to corruption and crime. Now, as we continue along the morning, we're diving into a fascinating topic with our next guest, Rakesh Bukal, an insect production specialist and graduate of the University of the West Indies, who has been instrumental in the development of a black soldier fly production facility. That's a collaboration between the University of the West Indies and UN Food and Agriculture Organization to address the high cost of animal feed and tackling the issue of organic waste. Welcome to the program, Mr. Rakesh Bukal.
Hi, morning. Thank you, Naomi.
Great. Can you tell us first how the idea for the black soldier fly production facility came about? I mean, why the black soldier fly? What makes them so special for this project?
All right, so I believe this project was basically coined with mutual interest between the FAO and the university, right? So basically, black soldier flies, they exist within the entire South American continent, and they're almost ubiquitous around the globe. And globally, these flies have been highly sorted out as a means by which you could reduce organic waste in a sustainable manner. In addition to that, the byproducts from it includes insect protein that you could use as a sustainable alternative to animal feed, as well as the waste that they produce called frass. It's a highly nutritious organic fertilizer and soil amendment that you could use for sustainable crop production. both of which is basically ideal and much needed for us here in the Caribbean region, as it pertains to food security and sustainable development goals, etc., etc. So basically, our project really aims to really revolutionize the way we look at one, waste streams that a lot of which is generated from agriculture, and put it into a circular type of system where we could use the waste back as inputs into our very own production to create that whole circular pattern where nothing is really wasted and we're able to maximize and benefit from all different dimensions.
Oh, Mr. Bukal, I've had many interesting guests on this program with many interesting designations. And I'm looking at yours, and it says insect production specialist, black soldier flies. Tell me about the production cycle and in respect to your role in this entire development project, what exactly are you doing as an insect production specialist?
Right, so that's a very interesting question. Right, so I do have a background in what we call entomology, which is studying things like insects, etc., which I did as part of my master's at UWI in biodiversity conservation.
Yeah,
So
you have a lot more guts than many of us. A lot more guts. Thank you, Mr. Bukal.
So my interest in insects actually dates back several years ago at UWI. And when I discovered that I can actually use insects back into food production systems, I was immediately fascinated by that concept. So at UWI, when we engaged with the FAU and we had initial discussions of getting this project off the ground, etc., the initial idea was that we were going to import these flies from the UK, right? Because we do have another partner organization that we work with called Fira Science, because they basically specialize in insect, like black soldier fly rearing technology. Right now, the biggest issue that we were faced with at that point in time was the fact that it was unknown that these flies existed in Trinidad. So a major red tape was actually importing those flies into the country because in case of accidental release, they could have become invasive. In addition to that, public perception of bringing in something foreign into the country, putting it into our ecosystems, potentially if it becomes released, etc. So there's a lot of ambiguity and kind of red flags around that. However, because of my background, of course, I did a lot of field work in forests and all these different areas studying insects and doing collections and stuff like that. I would have recalled collecting those flies in the past, right? So I did some background research and I found out that those flies that being utilized and exploited around the globe actually originated here in South America, right? They were actually native to this part of the world. However, like most other things, we always have foreign interests in our resources, and basically they were able to capitalize on this and export it worldwide and generate that industry. So I did some extensive field work here locally in search of the black soldier fly, and I was able to capture some adults, got it properly identified, taxonomic identification, etc., verify that we did have this fly native to us here in Trinidad, and by extension, the Caribbean, and then took those native species and started to put that into production, right? So that is where, the bulk of my input really came in, because of the fact that because we were dealing with native species, the requirements, the outputs, the life cycles, all varied from what data and from what research would have done for the quote-unquote foreign strains, right? So for the past year and a half, I would have taken those wild colonies and basically quote-unquote domesticated it, and in that process, basically troubleshooted and identified all our local environmental conditions that work best and optimally to get that fly into optimal production, right? Because unless we don't cross that bridge, the feasibility of having that project kick off the ground using native species, it wouldn't really be possible. So for the last year and a half or so, so I have been working with, again, optimizing the conditions such as lighting, we modified humidity, temperature, different feeding substrates to kind of come up with the perfect recipe for what these flies require so that we could basically get that entire cycle done. And the information from that, however, of course, I mean, we are basically compiling into a knowledge base. So we actually setting up our we actually have a website, as Sheldon has already done, called the Knowledge Hub, right? And all this information from this research that I would have been working on together with my colleagues and optimizing and coming up with all the requirements for these flies are basically going to be plugged into that Knowledge Hub with all the videos from, rearing these things in my apartment and to taking it out into the production facility so that the average farmer, householder, anyone interested in black solar fly could basically tap into that resource base. It's like you don't have to recreate the wheel, we kind of, or reinvent the wheel, as they say. You could just come in, plug in, and just follow those footsteps in the sand. And that's basically what we intend to do at our production facility at the moment. So it's not really a facility where, all right, you're the university and together with FAO just going to produce insect larvae, but it's really being developed as the model where anyone could basically utilize and take this industry forward in the Caribbean.
Just to clarify, the black soldier fly versus the common house fly, right? How would we know the difference, or what's the difference? How can we differentiate?
All right. So when we hear the
eyes.
That's a very good question. So when we hear the term flies, we automatically think, this grotesque thing that's flying around our food, and we don't know where to cover it, and it spread diseases, and all the negative things, right? These flies are completely unlike our household flies, right? They actually resemble wasps, right? They have no chewing or biting mouth parts, believe it or not. So the adults really don't feed, so they have no need to come on any sort of food sources. However, they do seek out decaying organic matter where they lay the eggs so that the larvae could feed on that, right? So it's really the larvae that we're utilizing as the protein source, and the larvae is what converts the organic matter into the valuable byproduct called frass that we could use as an organic soil amendment. So they have no mite and mouthparts, so they don't spread diseases, they don't bite, right? So we don't have to worry about anything, some flying on us and biting us, like, like chaps and, stingers or anything like that. So it's, quote unquote, is a pretty safe fly. So it's nothing to really worry about, but again, it resembles more of a wasp, and you will usually find them around like chicken farms, poultry farms, or anywhere that you have decaying organic vegetable and animal matter.
That's interesting when you said that they don't have any feeding mechanisms as per se, the adults at least.
Yeah.
So therefore, if that's the case, I'm more curious to know exactly how do they survive? What is the stage or the lifespan of an adult fly? Because if you're using the larvae as the protein source, what is the lifespan of an adult fly? Can't eat, can I?
All right, so basically the entire life cycle from eggs to adults basically takes place roughly around 30 to 40 days, right? So we have found that our local species basically complete the entire life cycle in about 30 days, which is good for us because that means that we have a, how could I put it, a fast generation time or fast life cycle period. So we're able to generate larvae on a more consistent and regular basis. So in terms of survival, the adults typically survive on average 15 days max, right? So roughly about 2 weeks, right? Within that time, what we do provide to them, sometimes we provide a source of sugar water, and we do include some water in the breeding cages as well. So they are able to basically kind of like, I don't want to say like sip, and layman's term, some water up. But other than that, that's basically that. So the entire purpose as adults, of course, is just basically to reproduce, and pass the genes on to the next generation type of thing.
This is sorry, I see Naomi.
No. I wanted to kind of understand a little further, how does this project, well, how will this project help in reducing the organic waste in Trinidad and Tobago? Because I know somewhere it said, correct me, that the organic waste makes up 22% of our landfills, or about 22% of our landfills. So how is this project,
All right. So this project actually has a key role in reducing that organic waste that goes to landfills, right? So again, just to highlight, what is the big issue with organic waste going into landfills? One, our landfills are almost at capacity. Two, when organic waste is introduced into landfills, it decomposes, right? And when it decomposes, it actually produces several gases that are known to be greenhouse gases that are way more, how could I put it, dangerous or potent than carbon dioxide. So we get things like methane and those types of things. So locally, it's an excellent strategy to kind of reduce greenhouse gas emissions. If it's done at a global scale, we could see significant strides being made towards reduction of greenhouse gas and mitigation of climate change and those types of things. So the idea behind the project is that if we could divert all these waste streams, right, that comes from both like restaurants and households, and we could divert that into black solar fly production facilities, we could actually break that cycle where the waste is being basically dumped in or put into the landfills and actually have it converted into valuable byproducts, which is protein source for livestock like chickens, as well as for aquaculture, so fish and crayfish and those types of things. In addition to that, we could also, at the same point in time, be able to provide organic soil amendment that we could use back for agriculture. So it actually serves several benefits, right? Organic waste being a major one, like, reduction of that waste going into those landfills. In addition to that, we also get valuable byproducts that, we could save on spending money to import feed into the country. So we could save on Forex. Forex is a real big issue right now. And then, all our feed ingredients, etc., are imported into the country. In addition to that, fertilizer is becoming increasingly expensive for farmers. A lot of persons want to go on the more organic routes. So it helps really address all those issues at the same time by just doing one project.
It's incredible how this, it focused at least on the reporting that we received before on producing protein, animal feed. But when you get into the entire project, you read this article, and from what you said, it's incredible how this concept, this project has so many different benefits, can address so many issues. It's like a cycle, or a recycle, as you like to say. But in that regard, I'm curious to know, and I'm taking it a bit away from the topic. This was focusing on protein for animal feed. Around the world, in many societies where protein is a very expensive source or resource, or it cannot easily be attained for whatever reason. I know that they consume insects. Can humans consume this as well?
Yes, they can. So in other parts of the world, these can actually be consumed. In addition to that, they could be processed, right? So the thing about it is, we have a very westernized culture and stuff like that, right? So the interest towards consuming insects is there's a big stigma around that, because people see it as a low class food and it's not something that, something that kind of doesn't belong on our plate, right? So in other countries around the world, what they did, they actually didn't consume the insect or the larvae whole in its natural form, but processed it into things like flour, right? That you can use back now as an ingredient or amendment into the foods and the pastries and stuff. So indirectly you're consuming it, but not in the form that, But with respect to consumption, our project doesn't focus on that aspect at this point in time, but it can be consumed.
Oh, no. I know it doesn't, but I'm just wondering, you get a black bean burger. What's the possibility of getting a black solely fly burger sometime soon? Mr. Bukel, earlier on you spoke about technology that is actually used in this production process, and it's actually being made abroad. We have to import it into Transvago. Is this something that is costly? Is this entire process costly from the materials that need to be used, the equipment, the technology, to the output? Is it something that's costly, or is this relatively cheap?
Right. So we ideally positioned within within the globe in terms of we are in a tropical environment, right? The technology that basically is utilized to rear these flies globally would involve systems where you have to modify the air temperatures and the climate and those types of things to keep the flies at their optimal functioning type environment, right? So it's a bit more costly in North American type climates. However, our cost factor is significantly eliminated here in Trinidad and in the Caribbean because of the fact that the technology we need to utilize for these flies are extremely basic. We have absolutely no need for any environmental controls. So these flies could basically go on a shed, they could go at the side of your house. And the equipment that we use for it is extremely low cost as well, right? All you really need for these flies is a housing environment to keep the adults. So the cages that we typically use are about 3 feet in height by about 2 feet in width, which is not very large. And you could basically fabricate those from like any sort of netting, like mosquito netting, etc., which is not very costly. You plug in the flies in there. Remember, we don't need to feed the adults. We just need to provide them with some water and a little sugar solution to give them a little better energy. Put in some decaying organic matter. The females lay the eggs. We could basically take those eggs from there, put it into a hatching tray. Within 2 to 3 days, they hatch, and then they start to feed on organic waste immediately. Within about 2 to 3 weeks, we have protein source, we have frass, and that's basically a life cycle. That's basically a production cycle in a nutshell. So you could use recycled materials from around your home. You don't need to go and actually purchase anything. When I started this project, right, we didn't have the facility established at the university, right? That's the insect bioreactor at the university field station. So what I actually did is that I designated a small space within my apartment where I kept that initial batch of wild flies, right? And we didn't have like any imported cages or anything like that. So I went and I kind of just recycled my aunt's mosquito net from a room and basically made that into a small cage. And I kept those adults and I used water bottles, like those big water bottles that we usually discard, ideal containers for a small scale production system. So I just cut those, got some kitchen scraps, some different vegetables I just tossed on the wayside, plug that into there, and I was actually in production. And that, yeah, so that is actually what created the larger colonies that we now plugged into our system there. And even at the UV insect bioreactor, we are very low tech but highly efficient. So the containers we use again are very cost effective, recyclable, and basically that's basically all that is really needed. We really don't have any need for any specialized equipment for this production.
I'm still trying to wrap my head around the thought or the idea of you having these bottled waters with flies.
He's dedicated. I give it to him. He's dedicated to the cause.
I mean, somebody had to do it, right? Somebody had to do it. So I was like, you know what? I need to step up and get this done. Because ironically, when I did, I mean, initially at the onset, when I saw the potential of the project, I was like, well, yeah, I mean, this has a lot of benefit for us. But when I started to delve deeper into it and I started to see what is taking place, like in Africa and all these other countries, and how this thing really being utilized and changing their farming industry and it benefiting the rural persons, right? I immediately jumped on and I was like, you know what, 101% in. I'll do whatever it needs to be done to get us off the ground, and so I just kept at it and got it to where it is at the moment.
Mr. Bukal, we do have to begin wrapping up now, but just tell us what has been the most rewarding aspect of this project for you personally.
So the most rewarding aspect for this project, so we recently had a black soldier fly insect production facility launch, right? Where we had various stakeholders, both at the how can I put it, the institutional levels, like with swim call and the different feed manufacturers and stuff like that. And then we had public engagement. We had a two-day launch with the average farmers and the average persons interested into this. And, you know, interacting with those persons and hearing how much this could really benefit their operations and, you know, how thankful they were, because I didn't realize how much other persons actually were looking at this thing and thought that, you know, it was impossible for us in the Caribbean because we don't have the flies and it's being done around the world, and how do we get it? And, you know, I'm really seeing persons being able to directly benefit from this. Because a lot of persons, they always complain that they don't have enough money to buy fertilizers for, like, even for basic gardening and those types of things. And this could really help them earn a livelihood and that type of thing. So I think that was the biggest highlight for me, to actually see. I mean, I couldn't have seen that direct benefit in that scale a year and a half ago when I started. I was just interested to, you know, figure out this thing and, you know, get the project up. But when I saw the benefits to the average person, that was my selling point, and I know it was all worth the time.
I think it's absolutely incredible the work that you've done and the work that you're doing as a part of this project. But we're going to add one more title this morning, if I may, because you're entomologist, you're production specialist, and they say king of the colony. He started this. He got this going, so he's king of the colony as well. Mr. Bukal, this is incredible. Thank you very much for the
Sure,
work
no
that you've
problem
done, the
at all.
research that you've done, and also to the entire team, because I know this is also a team behind this project.
Of course. That is
yeah.
entire. We have a lot of other dedicated persons who work in the background, who is directly on the ground, working with these flies at that facility. And I mean, the vision of the facility is a lot. The FAO has been. I mean, they have been so passionate and driving for this project as well. And this project is not intended to remain here in Trinidad. It's actually intended to go regionally. So we do have concurrently a couple other islands that basically getting themselves set up so that the information that we derive from this production facility will plug directly into their system. So they don't need to recreate this entire process.
Oh, that's absolutely incredible. That is incredible. Naomi, I think we need to invite Mr. Bukal for a while Wednesday. I think we need to invite him for a while Wednesday. He's got to
Yes.
yeah.
That would
So, Mr. Bukal, a while Wednesday, we've got animals and insects in studio, and you know, we'd love to see
I'll bring
if
along
possible,
some
you know?
flies and some larvae, and we could have a little discussion with them.
Definitely. But for now, Mr. Bukal, thank you very much for this. Of course, congratulations and all the very best to you and the rest of the team.
No problem. Thank you so much.
Take care.
Thanks for having
Bye-bye.
me. Yeah, bye-bye.
Well, that was quite the intriguing discussion, and the byproducts alone that you get from this production cycle, where you've got a fertilizer that can be used for soil, you've got the larvae that is consuming organic waste, which, as Naomi points out, 22% of our landfills are actually made up by organic waste, and as Mr. Bukal pointed out as well, our landfills are overfilled, you know, so it's helping that situation. Then you got a protein source, not for us. You know, yes, it still seems to be quite a taboo thing about eating insects in the Western world, but who knows, maybe a black soda pie burger might be a possibility soon. Naomi, you think you'll try it though? Naomi, do you think you'd try that if that was a possibility?
No. I'm saying no just because insects, I don't know if I will ever, my perspective on insects or eating insects or that insects could be good for anything would change. Although I do understand the importance of this project and what these black soldier flies could mean for the agricultural sector. But
it certainly is a boost to the agricultural sector. It certainly does help a lot. But we've got to open up your mind a bit more to the adventures, to the culinary adventures that is, you know. But we certainly look forward to a Wild Wednesday with Mr. Bukal. We certainly look forward to that, and we can have that conversation where we actually have some of the players with us to get an idea of the entire process and what they look like. Anyway, Naomi, that's it. That's it. It's Friday. It's a happy day. It's the weekend.
Yes, and I couldn't ask for a better way to start my Friday morning. This was a good show.
It was indeed. It was indeed. Well, Naomi, thank you very much for joining us, of course, and we hope to see you bright and early next week. Monday morning? Who knows? Maybe
You
Tuesday,
shall.
Wednesday.
You shall, you shall.
Anyway, from our entire team in studio, Rand Gomezberg and my would thank you very much, of course, to my team, and thank you for joining us, ladies and gentlemen. You, of course, make AM Prime what it is. Feel free to reach out to us anytime. You've got our number on the screen. Call us. We love to hear from you. We'd love your feedback, or we'd even like your suggestions. If you think there's something you'd like to talk about or a good topic we've missed, we're more than happy to facilitate a conversation. There's also the email that is available, amprimewesn@gmail.com. So feel free to reach out to us. But from Naomi and I, we wish you a good day. Remember, today is a good day to have a good day. Naomi, take us away. Close us out.
Goodbye, and have a great day.
I was just so blunt. Oh, that was just so blunt. Bye-bye, guys.
WESN.
Her voice has mesmerized us for years.
And now, in a rare treat for music fans,
Shakuntala and Friends in concert, featuring Shakuntala Jangbahadur. Singing sensation Deval Chaitlal, brilliant musician Dr. Shivanan Maharaj, master flautist and saxophonist Narendra Maharaj, with music from Shiv Sangeet Orchestra, Shakuntala and Friends in concert.
Shakuntala.
Between the Bank and the Gutter, a novel about street dwellers in Port of Spain. This is a book to make you both laugh and cry. Above all, it takes you to that special space that only street dwellers know. In this moving and riveting human interest story, Harry journeys from insanity to sanity while living on the streets of Port of Spain. Now available at Metropolitan Books, 12 Aripita Avenue, Woodbrook. Paper-based bookshop, 14 Alcazar Street, Woodbrook. WESN, 30A Gattaca Street, Woodbrook. And the home store branches located at Barataria, Shogunas, and East Gates Mall. Autographed copies now available on request. Also available from author Louis Lee Singh. I Used to Live in Heaven, Letters to My Granddaughters, Local Government in Trinidad, Conspiracy Against the People, and Closer to the Church.
My name is Dr. Stephen Carroll, the CEO at Community Hospital of Seventh-day Adventist, and we are committed to making good private health care affordable.
For all your medical needs, including dental, radiology, laparoscopy, behavioral and mental health, along with many